Hello and welcome to the second season of Cloud9 Analytics, the highest quality commentary, the highest quality analysis without the highest quality product because we are in a new building. Shout out to my producers and shout out to Spot On Sports, where we are not just accurate, but spot on. And speaking of being spot on, does anybody want my Cash App to pay me all of the bets that they took out for the... I feel like I was a little bit too loud because I'm a big fan of Luka Doncic, but I need every single penny for the bets that Dallas Mavericks fans made me when they got Kyrie Irving. I was told that the Western Conference Finals was just the floor and the ceiling could be multiple championships. But what I got instead? An 11 seed. This is play-in week. Actually, one of my favorite weeks in NBA history. I'm so glad that they added the play-in tournament to the playoffs. It gives it a little bit of strength. I said it with an F for a reason. But what the Dallas Mavericks needed more than anything was that strength. And I don't know what I'm more upset at. The fact that I have been saying that Kyrie Irving would never be a part of championship basketball again, and I was proven correct again, or the fact that the Dallas Mavericks organization gave up players and picks to give up in the final 2 games of the regular season. Mark Cuban, this is disgraceful. This is not basketball. This should be investigated by Adam Silver. You should be fined. And I don't think you should be fined just money. I really personally believe this is worse than tanking. I feel like you should lose a draft pick. This goes against the sanctity of competition. You actively tried to lose. It's one thing to create a team that just can't win. You try your hardest and it just does not happen. It's another thing to actively put a bad product out there for your fans, for the people that love the Dallas Mavericks, for the people that love Luka Doncic. Speaking of, shout out to Luka Doncic for not wanting to give up even though things weren't going great. He decided he was going to play in the final 2 games regardless of what the organization decided. Regardless. And I appreciate that simply because it's been so much just sitting out and so much I don't need to play 82 games even though you want 82 games worth of payment, that I appreciate when a player, even though there isn't really a chance for them anymore, they go out there and put the best product on the court. Why is it that you are squandering opportunities with a transcendent basketball player, a 6'9" point guard who can play shooting guard, who can handle the basketball, finish at the rim better than I would say 95% of all other basketball players in the league? We're talking about Luka Doncic. Assisting, facilitating. He's able to shoot mid-range and 3 when needed. Unstoppable. He has the second highest playoff points per game in NBA history, and he's not going to be in the playoffs because his owner and his organization quit on him. Quit on him. Kyrie Irving, I told you this was going to be a rough podcast for you. I lied. Because what can you do when an organization actively shows that they don't care about winning? You cannot tell me that Mark Cuban cares about winning. You cannot tell me that Mark Cuban cares about Luka Doncic. I don't care. He got him Kyrie Irving and all of this money. I don't care. You quit. There's no other way around it. There's no other way to say it. You're not preserving a pick. We could get a better draft pick. If the pick was 10 or lower, then it goes to Dallas. If it's 12 or higher, then it goes to the Knicks. I don't know if y'all knew that. If it's an 11 pick, then the Knicks can decide if they want the player or not. You see what I'm saying? Of, let's say, our average of about 12 players a draft, right? The top 12. How many of them actually pan out? 2? Sometimes 1. Go to the draft that had Giannis, sometimes 0. Sometimes top 10 picks do not pan out. A lot of times, top 10 picks do not pan out. That's why they're only talking about Victor Wembanyama and not any of the other people that are going to be in the draft, because the rest of the draft is going to be role players and players that are going to be on the bench, some players that are eventually going to be on the G League. Not every single player that gets drafted pans out. Most players that get drafted don't pan out. There may be 20 superstars and at a max 30 stars in the NBA. And half of them have been the same stars for the last 10 years. And you're going to risk angering, upsetting, disappointing, and failing the best chance you will have at a championship since Dirk Nowitzki. And you didn't even know that was going to happen, Mark Cuban. Let's be 1,000, Mark Cuban. You did not know that was going to happen. That's why it did not happen again. You could have had championships earlier. You got rid of Steve Nash. You got rid of Jalen Brunson. For what? You were in the Western Conference Finals last year. The West is worse this year than it is last year. The team that beat you last year would not be able to beat you this year if you had Jalen Brunson. No one can tell me that the Golden State Warriors are a better team this year than last year. No one can tell me that. Especially with Andrew Wiggins just coming back, if he's back for the playoffs properly. So, with that Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic-led Mavericks team against this iteration of the Golden State Warriors, I 1,000% believe that the Mavericks are facing Boston in the finals. 1,000%. That Mavericks team would be favored in the West right now. They're better than Denver. They are. We've seen what Luka Doncic can do to the Clippers. We've seen it. Do you think the Los Angeles Lakers would be nervous to go up against a transcendent Luka Doncic in his prime with Jalen Brunson as his running mate? Who's going to guard Jalen Brunson? Austin Reeves? Yeah, I know he's been playing all right, but come on now. The Dallas Mavericks had a chance at really making waves in the West. Dallas is a place that people are willing to come. There's no state tax. It would not have been that difficult to get people and pieces added and added and added around Luka until you grew something special. You did it with Dirk. You just didn't know you were going to do it. But you did it. Mark Cuban, you did it. You got your one championship. And you're finna squander your opportunity at another one. Now, as I am happily, unhappily talking about the Dallas Mavericks, I look over and see that an upset is brewing with Atlanta up 64-50 on the Miami Heat. Now, why was it that every single pundit, every single commentator was wondering how much of an issue Miami was going to be for Boston without giving the Atlanta Hawks their proper due. Of the two teams in the last 5 years, only one round separates their success. There is nothing besides one round that separates the Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat when it comes to success over the last 5 years. Was Atlanta not in the Eastern Conference Finals? So are we just going to act as if Atlanta is just nothing? I do understand that people love playoff Jimmy. Do you love playoff the rest of that team? I have been saying this. Miami cannot score. Victor Oladipo is a shot fighter. He is done. He's literally just defense and rebounding and jumping and running. He's a fast PJ Tucker at this point. Without Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat are a top 2 draft picking team. And if Jimmy Butler has one bad game in the play-in, why is everybody just automatically assuming Miami is going to advance without scoring? And what is Miami going to do against Boston without scoring? Lose. I'm not saying it's going to be a sweep. I am saying it's going to be a sweep. I personally feel like Atlanta has a better chance of winning more than one game against Boston than this version of Miami. The version of Miami that y'all saw last year take Boston to 7 games and was one shot away, that team no longer exists. Speaking of teams that no longer exist, yesterday, no, I can't say yesterday, 2 days ago, had you told me that the Los Angeles Lakers were going to have to go up against the Minnesota Timberwolves for that first play-in 7 and 8 game, as a LeBron James fan, I would have been very nervous. Karl Anthony Towns coming back in stride. Ant-Man Anthony Edwards, very difficult to guard. Rudy Gobert, not the best player, one of the best defenders. And they had great depth. They fight hard. And they play good when they're playing good. But out of nowhere, the basketball gods from the sky shining down on all Laker Nation and LeBron's opportunity at a 5th championship, which I'm not going to be the person to predict, okay? I'm not going to be one of those people that is going to predict that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to make that deep of a run and have an actual chance at an NBA championship. What I will say is, you do not know basketball if you don't believe that the Los Angeles Lakers are horrifying to every team they face in the playoffs. Minnesota could have done a favor to the entire Western Conference by properly going into this game and beating the Lakers. Rudy Gobert should not have been suspended. This is not going to be a podcast to talk about that, but all I will say is, if my manhood is worth 1 game of suspension, I will get suspended happily, punching someone for calling me what he was called. Shut the F up, B. UB. You're a strong man, Rudy Gobert, and I'm proud of you. Because I would have lost my NBA career that day. You better than me. One game would not have been my suspension. That's all. It would have took. I'm 7 feet tall. It would have took 7 people to keep me. Great job. The only thing that's not great is y'all are probably about to get eliminated. And this goes to my last. This goes to my last little point before I get out of here. This new generation with this new culture of wanting to not be liked and wanting to have haters and wanting to rub people the wrong way because how you feel is the only thing that matters. It works when you work a job making $15 an hour. And you don't have to interact with other people if you don't want to. You don't have to be a team player if you don't want to. But when you start making big boy money with big boy companies, working big boy jobs, teamwork is involved. This is not the first instance of teammates coming out and disrespecting Rudy Gobert. He has a personality of someone who actively tries to not fix it when people don't like him. If this was the first incident, I would have been 1,000% on Rudy Gobert's side. But everywhere he goes, he has problems with people not liking him. And now you are a part of the two of the most infamous situations in NBA history. You are patient zero that everybody ties to stopping the NBA due to COVID. And you are now tied to the absolute worst trade in NBA history. And if you were a more likable guy, I feel like more people would feel bad for you. But when you put yourself in situations to rub the people around you the wrong way, in these big boy companies, when you're making this big boy money and you need to use teamwork, you put yourself in a situation to be in infamy forever. There's 2 years left on that Rudy Gobert deal. They gave up Cody Kessler for Rudy Gobert. If Minnesota called up Utah 1-for-1, Rudy Gobert for Cody Kessler, Utah hangs up the phone. I had to leave a moment of silence for that because they gave up 4 players, 4 first-round draft picks, and pick swap for Rudy Gobert, who is now not about to play in a play-in game when they thought that they were going to be one of the top contenders in the West. And it's not Rudy Gobert's fault. He was just defending himself. But when you make yourself such an unlikable person, when you put yourself in a situation where you do rub people the wrong way, in times where we would and should and probably need to feel bad for you, we don't feel bad for you. The Timberwolves are about to get eliminated. Then they're going to have to deal with either a red-hot Oklahoma City with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a red-hot New Orleans Pelicans coming off multiple good wins. Going last week, multiple good wins. there's a chance they may not make the playoffs at all. And to give up, I'm going to repeat this every time I bring it up. 4 players, 4 first-round picks, and a pick swap. One of those players being Cody Kessler. And you miss the playoffs? There has never been a bigger disaster in the NBA. Never. This is worse than signing Chandler Parsons. This is worse than the Amari Stoudemire deal. This is worse than the Carmelo Anthony deal. It's the worst. The GM of Minnesota needs to be fired. Minnesota needs to trade all of their players and try to rebuild. They have no other choice. There is no other option. This has been Cloud9 Analytics, the highest quality commentary, the highest quality analysis, with the highest quality product, but it's probably in the car. I can't bring it in our new building. Shout out to Spot On Sports, but we're not just accurate, but spot on. Come sit with us next week when we talk about the first round of the NBA playoffs and do some NFL draft predictions. If nobody else loves you guys, I love you guys.